The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth as silence crashed over the restaurant like a tidal wave. 30 seconds ago, I had been laughing. 30 seconds ago, I was Maya, the perfect corporate wife, sitting beside my husband at an elegant dinner table surrounded by his colleagues. Now I was Maya, the woman whose husband had just slapped her so hard across the mouth that her lips split open, staining her cream dress with drops of red. Derek's hand was still raised, trembling in the air. His eyes were wild, his jaw clenched. Around us, forks clattered onto plates. Someone gasped. His boss Victor sat frozen, wine glass suspended halfway to his lips, his face a mask of horror. "Don't you ever embarrass me again," Derek hissed through gritted teeth. I didn't cry. I couldn't. My body wouldn't move. I just stared at this man I had married 2 years ago. This stranger whose palm print was burning on my cheek. And I knew with absolute certainty that my marriage had just died in front of 12 witnesses in the most expensive restaurant in Lagos. Everything that led to this moment, everything that came after, all of it was irreversible. This is the story of how one slap destroyed 2 lives, but only one of us deserved it. 3 months before that night, everyone envied us. Maya and Derek Okonkwo, the golden couple of Lagos's young professional scene. We attended gallery openings in Victoria Island, posted perfectly filtered photos at Sunday brunch, and made witty small talk at corporate events that made other couples laugh with genuine warmth. Derek worked in corporate finance at Sterling Global, climbing the ladder with aggressive determination. He was handsome, ambitious, always impeccably dressed in tailored suits that cost more than my monthly rent used to. I was a marketing consultant at a digital agency, the warm one, the social one, the woman who remembered everyone's names and asked about their children. But perfection, I learned, is just a mask that takes effort to maintain. The first crack appeared on a Thursday evening. We were getting ready for a company mixer, one of those mandatory networking events where wives were expected to smile and make their husbands look good. I had chosen a blue wrap dress, simple but elegant. Derek looked me up and down and frowned. "Change. What's wrong with this? It's too casual. Victor will be there with his wife. She always looks polished. You need to look like you belong." I felt heat rising in my chest, but I swallowed it. "Derek, this dress costs 15,000 naira. It's perfectly appropriate." His jaw tightened, that muscle near his ear twitching the way it did when he was angry but trying to hide it. "Maya, I'm up for promotion to senior analyst. Do you know how competitive it is? Do you know how many people are watching me, judging everything? My wife's appearance reflects on me. I'm not your accessory. No, you're my partner. And partners support each other." He softened, reaching for my hand. "Baby, I'm sorry. I'm just stressed. This promotion means everything. Once I get it, things will be different. Better. I promise." I changed the dress. That night at the mixer, Derek kept his hand on the small of my back, steering me away from conversations he deemed unimportant, interrupting when I spoke too long. When I laughed loudly at someone's joke, he squeezed my waist hard enough to bruise. In the car ride home, he said, "You were too loud tonight. Victor's wife is refined. You need to watch how you present yourself." My best friend Rachel called the next morning. "Girl, I saw how Derek was controlling you last night. That's not normal." "He's just under pressure," I said, hearing my own voice make excuses. "The promotion has him stressed. He'll relax once he gets it." "And if he doesn't get it?" I didn't answer because I didn't want to think about it. 2 weeks later, Derek came home and threw his briefcase across our living room. Glass shattered, a framed photo of our wedding day hitting the wall. They gave it to Marcus. 28 years old, Marcus, with his MBA from abroad and his connections. 2 years I've been there, Maya. 2 years of killing myself. I tried to comfort him, wrapping my arms around his rigid body. "Baby, there will be other opportunities." He shoved me away, not violently, but firmly enough that I stumbled. "You don't understand. You've never understood what it takes. Coming from where I came from, having to prove myself twice as hard as everyone else." I wanted to remind him that I came from the same middle-class neighborhood he did, that we both had worked hard for everything we had. But I stayed silent. That night, Derek drank half a bottle of whiskey and passed out on the couch. The next morning he brought me flowers. Yellow roses, my favorite. I'm sorry, baby. I was out of line. Forgive me. I forgave him. I always forgave him. But 2 months later, when Victor announced one final evaluation dinner, where partners were invited, where Derek would get one last chance to prove himself worthy of promotion, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. This is it, Derek said, gripping my shoulders, his eyes intense. This dinner changes everything. I need you perfect, Maya. Perfect. The 8 weeks between that announcement and the dinner were the longest of my life. Derek transformed into someone I barely recognized. He drank every night, scotch becoming his dinner companion more often than I was. He stopped touching me with affection, only grabbing my arm to make a point or pulling me close at events to maintain appearances. He made lists, actual lists of rules for me. Don't talk about your work. Nobody cares about marketing. If Victor mentions politics, agree with him. Don't share your opinions. Laugh at his jokes, even if they're not funny. Wear the black dress, the one with the high neck. Conservative. Classy. I was being reduced to a prop, a perfectly trained doll that would sit and smile, and make Derek look like a man who had his life together. But I told myself it was temporary. After this dinner, after the promotion, we would get counseling. We would fix this. Rachel didn't agree. She cornered me at a coffee shop 3 weeks before the dinner, her dark eyes blazing with concern. Maya, listen to yourself. You sound like those women in the shelter where I volunteer. It's just temporary. He'll change. He's under stress. It's not the same, I protested weakly. Isn't it? He controls what you wear, what you say, how you act. He's isolated you from half your friends because they're not sophisticated enough. When was the last time you made a decision without checking with him first? I opened my mouth to argue but couldn't. When had I become this person? He loves me, I finally said. Love doesn't look like this, Maya. Love doesn't make you smaller. I left the coffee shop angry at Rachel for not understanding. But that night, lying next to Derek while he snored off another whiskey stupor, I stared at the ceiling and wondered if she was right. The day of the dinner arrived with the weight of inevitability. Derek had taken the day off work to prepare. He picked up his suit from the dry cleaner, shined his shoes twice, practiced talking points in the mirror. I watched him spiral into an anxiety I had never seen before. This is everything, he kept muttering. Everything. I pressed my black dress carefully, applied makeup with steady hands despite my shaking insides. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger. A beautiful, polished, empty stranger. Derek inspected me like a sergeant inspecting a soldier before battle. He adjusted my necklace, told me to wipe off some lipstick and reapply something more subtle, made me change my earrings twice. Remember, he said as we drove to the restaurant, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. You are there to make me look good. That's your only job tonight. Don't embarrass me, Maya. Please don't embarrass me. I won't. I whispered, and I meant it. I had no idea that embarrassment, in Derek's mind, would be something as simple as the truth. The restaurant was called Azure, one of those places where the menu had no prices and the waiters spoke in hushed, reverent tones. Victor had chosen it, of course. Victor, Derek's boss, a tall man in his 50s with silver temples and the casual arrogance of someone who had never questioned his place in the world. We were the last to arrive. Derek's colleagues and their partners were already seated at a long table near the window, the Lagos skyline glittering behind them. I recognized most of them from previous events. Marcus was there, the young man who had gotten Derek's promotion, looking uncomfortable. His wife Jessica gave me a sympathetic smile. Derek. Maya. So glad you could make it, Victor boomed, standing to shake Derek's hand. Come sit. We've ordered wine. Derek sat beside Victor, and I took the seat next to Derek, directly across from Rachel, who had come as the date of one of Derek's coworkers. Her eyes met mine with a question. I looked away. For the first hour everything went smoothly. Derek laughed at Victor's stories, agreed with his opinions on market trends, and maintained the perfect balance between confident and respectful. I played my role flawlessly, smiling at the right moments, staying quiet when the men talked business. Then Victor's wife, Patricia, turned to me. Maya, Derek tells us you're in marketing. How exciting. Do you enjoy it? Very much, I said carefully, aware of Derek's leg pressing against mine under the table, a warning. It's creative work, which I love. I've always admired creative people, Patricia continued. I can barely arrange flowers, let alone create entire campaigns. What's your specialty? I felt Derek tense beside me, but Patricia was being genuinely kind, and I was tired of being silent. Digital storytelling mostly, helping brands find their authentic voice. Fascinating. You know, Victor could use someone like you. He's always complaining that our company's social media presence is terrible. Everyone laughed, including Victor, who raised his glass. It's true. I don't understand any of that Instagram business. Maybe I should hire you, Maya. The table laughed again. The mood was light, warm even. I started to relax. That's when Victor turned to Derek. You know, Derek, you're lucky to have such an accomplished wife. And I bet she takes care of you at home too. Are you one of those modern husbands who cooks? Derek's chest puffed slightly. Actually, yes. I pride myself on being pretty skilled in the kitchen. My jollof rice is legendary. It was such an absurd lie that I couldn't help myself. The words came out before I could stop them, light and teasing, meant as nothing more than a joke between husband and wife. Oh please, Derek burns water. Last week he set off the smoke alarm making toast. The table erupted in laughter. Victor slapped his knee. Jessica giggled behind her hand. Even Marcus grinned. It was harmless, affectionate teasing the kind couples do all the time. I was still smiling when Derek stood up. Time seemed to slow. I saw his hand rise, saw the fury in his eyes, saw Rachel's mouth open in a scream that hadn't yet formed. Then his palm connected with my mouth with a crack that silenced the entire restaurant. Pain exploded across my face. I tasted copper, felt warmth on my lip. The room spun. Derek's voice cut through the shocked silence like a knife. Don't you ever embarrass me again. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Around us, people were frozen, their faces masks of horror. Victor had stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Derek, he started. But I didn't wait to hear more. I grabbed my purse with shaking hands and ran through the restaurant, past shocked diners, past waiters who stepped aside with wide eyes, out into the humid Lagos night where I finally let the tears come. Behind me, I heard Victor's voice, cold and final. Security will escort you out, Derek. You're fired. Effective immediately. I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove, my hands trembling so badly I nearly crashed twice. Blood dripped onto my dress, onto my hands, onto everything. My phone buzzed with messages. Rachel. Jessica. Unknown numbers. But not Derek. Not yet. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Instead, I drove to Rachel's apartment in Lekki, showed up at her door with blood on my dress and tears streaking my makeup. She didn't say, I told you so. She just pulled me inside, held me while I sobbed, and called her cousin who was a lawyer. The messages from Derek started 2 hours later. Maya, I'm sorry. Please come home. I don't know what came over me. The pressure, everything just exploded. You humiliated me in front of my boss. But I shouldn't have reacted that way. Baby, please. I love you. We can fix this. Each message made me feel sicker. Because even in his apologies he was blaming me. He was sorry for hitting me, but I had humiliated him. He loved me, but I had driven him to this. Rachel read the messages over my shoulder and shook her head. He still doesn't get it. After everything, he still thinks you're the problem. By morning, Derek's life had begun its collapse. The video had gone viral. Someone at the restaurant had filmed the slap, and by sunrise it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Corporate man slaps wife in public, trending across Nigerian social media. Sterling Global issued a statement by noon. We have zero tolerance for violence of any kind. Derek Okonkwo's employment has been terminated. Effective immediately. Derek's calls became desperate, angry, pleading. You've destroyed me, Maya. Do you see what you've done? My career is over. Over. Because of one stupid joke. I blocked his number. My family was divided. My mother called, her voice thick with traditional expectations. Maya, marriage is hard. Men make mistakes. This public humiliation will follow you both forever. Come home, forgive him, work it out quietly. But my sister Janet was furious. Mama, stop. She made a joke. A joke. He hit her in front of a room full of people. There's no excuse. The days blurred together. I stayed at Rachel's, went to work, came back. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. My lip healed, but the trauma remained, replaying every time I closed my eyes. Derek's harassment escalated. He showed up at my office demanding to talk. Security escorted him out. He went to my sister's house, to my mother's church, desperate and unraveling. Rachel's lawyer cousin, Femi, was blunt. Get a restraining order. Now. This behavior will escalate. He's just desperate, I said weakly. That's when they're most dangerous. I filed for a restraining order. The judge granted it immediately after watching the video. 2 weeks later, Derek violated it, showing up at my gym. This time the police were called. He was arrested, spent a night in jail, and faced criminal charges. Through mutual friends, I heard about his complete descent. No firm would hire him. His reputation was destroyed. He moved back in with his mother, who blamed me publicly, calling me an ungrateful wife who had humiliated her son. Then Rachel told me something that changed everything. I did some digging, she said quietly one evening. Derek had another girlfriend. 5 years ago, before you met. Her name was Titi. My stomach dropped. And he hit her too. At a party. Her brother confronted him, threatened to press charges. Derek's family paid them off, made it go away. I felt like I'd been punched. This wasn't a moment of pressure. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was who Derek was when he felt challenged, when his ego was threatened. I had never been safe with him. 6 months after the slap, I sat in a courtroom in Lagos, waiting for the final divorce decree. Derek sat across the room with his lawyer, looking hollow. He had lost weight, his expensive suit hanging loose on his frame. His eyes were empty. Victor attended as a witness, prepared to testify about the assault if needed. He approached me before the hearing. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'm sorry for what you endured. That night haunts me. I should have seen the signs. You couldn't have known, I said softly. Perhaps. But I want you to know we've implemented new policies at Sterling Global. Domestic violence awareness training, support systems for employees in crisis. We're trying to ensure this never happens again. The hearing was brief. Derek's lawyer tried to argue pressure, stress, mental health struggles. My lawyer presented the video, the restraining order violations, the testimony from TT, Derek's previous victim. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked at Derek with unconcealed disgust. Mr. Okonkwo, you had everything. A wife, a career, respect. You threw it all away the moment you raised your hand to someone you vowed to protect. Violence is never justified. Pressure is not an excuse. Embarrassment does not warrant assault. She granted me the divorce, full protection, and a judgment that would follow Derek forever. As we left the courtroom, Derek tried one last time. Maya, please. I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my marriage. I tried to kill myself last month. Did you know that? I swallowed pills because I couldn't live with what I'd become. I stopped, turned to face him. For 6 months I had avoided this moment. Now, standing in the marble hallway of the courthouse, I finally said what I needed to say. You didn't lose everything because of a joke, Derek. You lost everything because you chose violence over humanity. You chose ego over love. You chose to hurt someone who loved you because your pride couldn't handle a moment of light-hearted teasing. And even now, even after everything, you're still making yourself the victim. His face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw actual understanding dawn in his eyes. Not self-pity, not blame, but genuine, devastating comprehension of what he had done. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo what happened. Sorry doesn't give me back the months of therapy I'll need. Sorry doesn't restore your career or your reputation. Some actions can't be undone, Derek. Some consequences are permanent. I walked away, leaving him standing alone in that hallway. 3 months later, I stood in front of a room of 20 women at a domestic violence support center in Lagos. Rachel had convinced me to share my story, to help others recognize the warning signs I had missed. My name is Maya. I began, my voice steady now, stronger than it had been in months. And I want to tell you about the night my husband slapped me in front of his coworkers because I made a joke. I told them everything. The control. The isolation. The slow erosion of my identity. The violence. The aftermath. If you take nothing else from my story, I said, looking at their faces, some bruised, some scarred, all bearing the weight of other people's violence, take this. You are not responsible for someone else's inability to control their anger. You are not too sensitive. You did not provoke them. You did not deserve it. And you do not owe them forgiveness just because they're sorry. After the session, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 25, with nervous hands and eyes that wouldn't meet mine. My boyfriend gets really angry when I talk too much at his work events, she whispered. He says I embarrass him. But he's never hit me. Do you think it could get worse? I took her hands in mine, felt them trembling. Yes, can always get worse. But you have the power to leave before it does. She started crying and I held her, this stranger who was me 6 months ago. And I knew why I was sharing my story. Not for Derek's redemption. Not for my own closure. But for every woman who needed to hear that leaving is not failure. Leaving is survival. Derek's consequences were permanent. His career never recovered. His reputation in Legos professional circles was destroyed. He faced ongoing criminal charges and mandatory counseling. Some say he moved away, started over somewhere where nobody knew his name. Others say he's still in Legos, living in his mother's spare room, a cautionary tale. I don't know. I don't check anymore. As for me, I rebuilt. Slowly, painfully, but I rebuilt. I returned to work, excelled at my job, even got promoted. I went to therapy every week. I reconnected with friends I had lost. I learned to laugh again, genuinely, without fear. And sometimes late at night I think about that moment in Azure Restaurant. The joke that cost me my marriage. The slap that echoed around the world. The blood on my cream dress. I don't wish it hadn't happened because that would mean wishing I had stayed longer, endured more, lost more of myself. That slap, as devastating as it was, set me free. Some actions cannot be undone. Some consequences are permanent. But some endings are necessary. And some women against all odds survive.